Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you how to make a pendant with a labradorite cabochon today. We're using just wire and a few simple tools, super easy, probably beginner friendly. We're going to be needing 20 gauge round wire, 22 half round wire, or if you don't have half round wire, you can use a 26 gauge round wire and just replace that with any time I use this. We're also using 28 gauge round wire. Now, if you only, like for the very basics, all you could do is literally just have 20 gauge round and a 26 gauge round, and you can replace either one of these with the 26 gauge. Ideally, I like to have a few different thicknesses and kind of shapes because it just adds a bit more dimension to the piece, but you don't need it, it's not necessary. Okay, so let's get out some wire. I always just try and straighten it off the spool, like so, just running my fingers along it. We just have a bit of a straighter piece. I just eyeball it every time, so I'll just sit my pendant in the middle of the wire and kind of just see how much wire I'm going to need. Okay, I'm using about 15 centimeters. You'd rather have too much wire than too little wire. So now we've got our 4 wires. You could do more. You could probably get away with doing 3 depending on the thickness of your pendant, of your cabochon. But you can just measure it by placing the wires on the base and seeing how thick it's going to be. Because you always want to make sure that one wire is going to sit comfortably behind the stone, and then you have a few wires that are going to secure the stone. So 4 would be the perfect amount for this stone. You could get away with probably doing 5, like I said, if you wanted a more like secure. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to start with some 28 gauge wire. So I've secured all my wires together with a little pattern here. But you don't need to do a pattern. You could use half round wire to wrap it around. You could use a 26 gauge wire just to wrap around these wire to secure them all together. And to secure them, you want to make sure that you're securing the wire by using some sort of flat plier. But if you're doing a wrap like this, the only time you really need to squeeze it is when you're securing just these little wires at the back here. But if you're wrapping the whole thing, you're going to want to squeeze like the whole thing. Okay, so now we're going to start on some detail pieces. I'm just going to kind of work out what I want to do. I think, so we want to leave out these bottom wires for this design. We're going to pull forward these top wires, the 2 top wires. So we're going to go for the second bottom wire on either side, and we're going to grab our 28 gauge and we're just going to coil probably about 2 centimeters of coil. So I'll just show you what I mean. We're going to get our wire in here, and just on this wire we're going to coil we're just going to start a coil around this wire. Now I'm just going to keep doing this until I reach probably about, I don't know, that much, and then we'll push that down. So now I've got my 2 coils. We're just going to push them up like so, and I'm going to try and keep it nice and tight. So I'm going to get these a bit closer together. And use these coils to kind of hold it tight in place. So now we've got these coils on either side, second from the bottom. Now we're gonna shape around our stone. So you can either hold the stone and push it around like that to try and make the shape. I find it's a bit easier to grab some, like, I don't know, whatever these are called, and just measure like the size of your stone. So this one is going to be a little bit wide, but I can shape it to it. So we're just gonna get that in place like so, and we're gonna just use that to shape our bezel. Like so. So see, we can see the nice pattern that I did at the bottom. We've got a coil running on the second from the back on either side. And I think I might have coiled a little bit too much actually. That's funny. And if you can see there, the base is way too thick for that stone. So we can go in with a smaller round and just gently push on either side to create a little bit more of a shape. And we might just need to pull out the wires a little bit. See how that's sitting. And I might even just use my fingers here just to press around the stone. I'm just going to play around with this a bit until I get a shape that I'm happy with. Okay, so when I've got a semi shape that I like, we're going to flip this over to the back side, and we're going to pull the two back wires just on top of each other like this to create a little like X in the back. Now with this X, just want to make sure that that's a bit more secure. With that little X here, we want to kind of measure where the middle of the stone is, and I kind of want that X to be sitting just about in the middle of the stone. And now we're going to take each side and bend them up, back up to the wires. You can see that. They don't have to be perfect, this is just the back, so don't worry too much. So now we have a back area. And now that stone should just sit in there and be held nicely by that back. Now at this stage you can really start to shape your stone a bit better. So I'm actually leaning this bezel like that, so it really hugs that stone. Now we're going to pull out the two front wires, and we're going to measure the back. So I've done way too much coiled, so I'm just going to unwrap till about maybe there. So now we've got our coiled wires and our backing. We're going to pull forward the two front wires on either side, and then we're going to use just those back four wires to secure a bit of a shape. So we can use our our round nose pliers, just to pinch that shape there, you can see. And I'm just going to come down, and we're just going to do like a slight bend on either side like that. Just create a little divot. Now with that divot, we can come back in with our flat pliers and just reinforce that a little bit more. And just come back in and straighten up those wires just a little bit. And now if you bring, we bring all of those wires together, just the back ones, they should sit nicely like that. And now you should have like a nice rounded shape around your capuchon. Okay, so now I'm going to start my bail and securing these wires together. We're going to just start with a half round on the back, or you can use a round gauge of any kind. I'm going to come to the front, just getting those top wires out of the way just for now. And we're going to really want to make sure that these back wires are sitting on top of each other. So we want 2 view from the front, 2 view from the side, 2 view from the back, just like a nice, all 4 sitting nicely on top of each other. And we're going to just come around and secure. We're going to just secure all of those wires together. Okay, so if you can see that, I've wrapped around these wires. And I might just wrap around one more time just to make sure it's extra secure. So I've wrapped it around 3 times. And now to create our bail, we're going to pull forward, oh, not that one, is it that one? Yeah. Our 2 front wires of that section. And we're going to use that to make a bail. So I want to get out those back wires, get them out of the way, and we're just going to circle those 2 front wires that we just removed. I don't know if you can see. So now I've gone through this side, I've wrapped them all around, and now I'm starting to just wrap around these 2 front wires here. So as you can see, I'm just using that half round wire to just wrap up this side. I'm just going to continue to do that. Once we've wrapped up a decent amount of the bail, I'm going to come in the back and just secure where we started, just making sure that that wire is tucked under like so. Now I'm just gonna, at this stage your stone might fall out, that's totally normal. Just gonna pop it back in because it's not completely secured yet. I'm just gonna check and make sure this is all even. It's not perfect, but it never is. Just gotta accept the imperfections. Alright, so now what we're going to do is use these front 4 wires that we kept out of the way earlier, and we're going to use that to secure around the stone. Okay, so I'm going to start with this wire, the second from the front, and we're just going to bend it a little bit. Try not to put a kink in it, just like I did. Try and just have like a really nice bend, and we're going to feed that through in between these wires in the back there, just in there. So we're going to feed this one in between. Now it can be a little bit hard to get it straight, so what I like to do is slowly pull from the back and slowly put pressure on the front, and pull that through. Do the same on the other side. Now what it should look like in the back is you got your 2 wires coming out either side here. And now we're going to do the same again. Just going to pull those up slightly. With the front 2 wires, feed it through. Grab it from the back, make sure to put pressure on the front of the wire so it doesn't kink. And we're just gonna see how we can make that sit and make it look a little bit nicer, because I did get a little bit of a kink in it. That's all right. Okay, so we're looking at the front and it looks really messy. How are we going to fix that? So first, I'm just going to squeeze these wires together a little bit. And then we're going to want the back to be a lot nicer than this. So I want the first wire that we put through at the top and the second wire that we put through at the bottom. Like that. Now I'm going to secure these wires in the back. So first of all, I'm just going to make sure that they're nice and tight and we're securing that stone nicely, that they're in a good position. Now you can see our stone coming together. This side's a little bit wonkier than the other. So we're just going to try and fix that up by pressing everything together nicely, making sure that it's all sitting nicely. Like so. Okay, so for the bottom wire, we're going to wrap it around below. For the top wire, we're going to wrap it around above. So to do that, we're just going to have to make a little bit of room in these back wires. So I'm just going to gently pull up. See how I just made some room in the back there so I can thread some wire through. Now this is way too much wire. You could have done the 2 front wires probably 10 centimeters instead of 15 centimeters. So I'm just going to snip that off so we have less wire that we're working with, just to make things a bit easier. I'm going to make sure that everything's being held in the right position with my finger on the back, holding it all in shape. I'm just going to secure that wire underneath. See how I'm just threading it through? Now, don't worry about tightening it too much first. I like to make sure that we're doing both sides at the same time, just to make sure that everything's nice and even. So again, I'm going to just loosen that backing so we have room. And we're going to thread it through. And now see how my wires are quite loose? We're just going to want to make sure that those are nice and tight on our wire. I'm going to thread it through another time just for extra security, and because I have enough wire there. If you're running out of wire, you can just wrap it once as long as you secure it nicely. Snip off the excess. And we're always tucking any loose wires behind. Now I'll do the same on this side. Now I'm just going to push back these back wires so that they're sitting nice. You can always just use some pliers just to gently press, but we don't want to be careful with the top of the stone. We don't want to scratch it. So now we've got one of these secured. So now we're just going to do the top wire the same as before. So the top can be a little bit trickier because we don't have as much room. So if you see, I'm just going to do the same thing, and we're going to loosen. We're going to make a gap above Do the same on both sides. Just make a bit of a gap that we can thread our wire through. We're going to make sure that it's nice and secure, that we're happy with how everything's sitting from the front, and do the same. So we're going to just cut off that excess wire and feed those wires back through. So now we've got our 2 front wires on either side holding the stone in place, and that's all secured in the back there. Doesn't look like the prettiest, but it doesn't matter, it's in the back. As long as there's no pointy wires and everything's nice and smooth, it's going to be comfortable to wear and we'll have a pretty front. So for the bail, we're just going to finish that now. Now that all the loose wires are out of the way, we're just going to put those 2 original back wires just to the side, and we're going to fold that bail. If it's starting to get a bit bent, I just like to hold it with my pliers and just gently rotate it around my finger. And we're just going to come behind, and pretty much where we want the end of this loose wire to come up just underneath these wires, if that makes sense. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so see how I've got this wire and I want it to sit just underneath those 2 wires there, like so. What we're going to do is we're going to just put a little notch in that so we can get it closer. So you want that to be nice and snug, like so. And then we can wrap that wire around all of them. What I do is I just secure this wire again on that same wire. So we've gone from wrapping on 2 to 4, or to 6 actually, because we've got it bent back down, and then we're back onto that same 2, if that makes sense. Just to secure that wire. Once we've wrapped that half round a few times around those back wires, just to secure it in place, we can just snip that off. Make sure that we're securing it in the back, of course. And then I'm going to just trim some of that excess wire. So we've got a little nub there. And you can either coil it back up into itself or down. I'm just going to attempt to do it down. I think it's not going to work. I think it's going to be a little bit ugly because you're going to see it. But we're just going to see, because I'd rather it be a flat finish. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just bending those wires in on themselves to create like a little flat thing. And then we're just going to push it in there. Now you can kind of see it from the front. I don't know how I feel about that. I might play around with it a little bit and see if I can make it look a little bit prettier. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. All I did was just bend those wires out to the side just slightly so they weren't sticking right through. Now with these wires, loose wires that you have now, you can do a couple of things. You can do some swirly, like decorative stuff, or you can simply just tuck them. I'm just going to tuck them for the sake of today's video. So I'm just going to snip off like, I don't know, like that much on either side. This one's got a little bit more. I just even it out. And we're just going to fold it backwards in here. Like that. And we're going to just use our flat nose pliers to create a nice little bend. You can see that. And we're just going to want to push it inside and make sure that you can't see it from the front. Just do the same on the other side. So now, from the front, you won't be able to see anything. from the side, you'll just see this little lip. You can make them much smaller than this, where you barely notice it at all, but then there's more chance of it coming undone. I prefer to leave a decent amount. You can still fit a chain through there. It's something that you don't really notice. And from the back and the sides of wire wraps are usually not the prettiest. It's like a front piece facing jewelry. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how I can improve. I'm a beginner at tutorials, so I'm sorry if some stuff that I do isn't explained well. But let me know if there's anything that you want me to make in my next video. And thank you. Have fun creating.